Ladies and gentlemen, and everything in between, we are in front of my tech cabinet today to speak about this beautiful tech cabinet. I am sickly in love with this cabinet. This is a project that I've been working on for about the last month, and we're gonna talk all about it, how I got here and what I did to create this cabinet, my thought process. Since really pushing my YouTube about like 2 years ago on this channel, I've slowly accumulated more gear, but my space hasn't gotten bigger, which then of course creates a new need. Functionally, everything was fine. I was able to access my gear and everything, but I wanted to put things away and make it easily accessible. It was kind of spread all over my place. Wasn't working as efficiently as I would have wanted to. I wanted it to not look ugly and like in your face and just like tech gear, because the issue is that I have a open concept living room and dining room and kitchen and workspace. And also, as I review products, sometimes, you know, they come in big boxes. I had this desk originally here. I barely use it as a desk. I would use my armchair and pivot the chair to use it as a desk, but ultimately it wasn't a dedicated workspace. And then I just accumulated a lot of things on top and underneath it, and it just got really messy. My home and my space is a sanctuary, and I love when it just flows and everything works well. So then I came up with different ideas and concepts. And now, of course, the first thing I did was research and see what was existing already and what other people have done. And now when you go on YouTube, which is generally where I like to start research, very visual person, what I would see is that most people had the luxury of space. And so they had a tech closet, or they would have a tech room, like their workstation, their home closed office dedicated to that. And so when they're done with work or editing or whatever it is that they do in that space, well, they get to close that room, and it can be messy as they want, and they can close the room and just walk away. And a lot of the solutions that you'll see are camera charging stations and similar things like that, where it's just a nice, most of the time it was a black on black pegboard, or it'd be like a white on white pegboard, but usually it was black on black just because cameras are black and everything just blended, and it's just a beautiful minimalist look. And I even contemplated putting a pegboard up there. I just didn't want to see my tech all the time. It's not like a decor item. I don't want this to be a focus. That was kind of the problem. I didn't see anybody have any solutions that would work for me. The closest that I saw was a tool chest on wheels. My needs were a little bit different from that. Something that essentially would work in my space decor-wise and just like accommodating my space. Eventually I landed on making my own cabinet for that, because essentially that's what a closet is, right? This is just like a standalone closet, if you were to think about it like that. So my first iteration, my first version was, okay, this pegboard concept, great, that works. I got myself a SKADIS Ikea pegboard. They have it in black. And that worked really well. I didn't have to paint it. I went with the SKADIS just because they have nice accessories versus an actual utilitarian pegboard. I didn't want to put it against the wall, so I went to a woodworker, designed, measured and everything, and got them to fashion little triangular legs. Had a cutout for my sideboards. And then I kind of just had that in the corner tucked away right here, right next to my desk. I had to bend down to get my stuff all the time, not a big deal. Functionally, it worked, and it was really subtle. Basically, people didn't even realize that I had that there. It blended into the space and really didn't take up a lot of room. And every time I had to get my camera and film, it was very easy. And I enjoyed the organization of it. That was a good start. But that didn't solve the problem of my gear being spread out. Actually, what prompted me to really push it to the next level was all the boxes that were accumulating on the floor. That's when I was like, okay, I need to have some sort of consolidated, closed space of some kind to be able to enclose everything. I don't remember how I came about this, but it was a long process of looking for different cabinets online and still looking at different possibilities of solutions. I eventually settled on the Ikea Billy bookcase with doors. I don't remember why it was that one. Oh yes, I do remember why it was that one. It just so happens that the SKADIS pegboard fits perfectly into the bookcase. The SKADIS is 30 inches wide, and the bookcase is 30 inches wide on the inside dimensions. So it was kind of a no-brainer. I don't know if they did that on purpose, because those are not two products that go together. So before getting the bookcase, I actually did sketch out a little bit how I would lay out everything, and just so it would give me a general idea of what I could fit in there, and if this ended up being the right solution for me. I actually could put a lot of different things in here and move around items throughout my space. Created more possibility actually beyond just a tech cabinet, but the main purpose of it was a tech cabinet. A cabinet is actually pretty pricey, so a Billy bookcase was actually the cheapest option. And also the benefit of that is it's such a popular product that it's very easy to find secondhand. So I was looking online here and there, and I think within a week that I had finally decided to get this cabinet, I found a used one disassembled, which is like most people don't disassemble this, with doors for $110 Canadian. At the time, they were selling the Billy bookcase with doors for $340 Canadian plus tax, and it wasn't even in stock at the time that I was doing this project. On a Wednesday at 10 p.m., I went to meet up this person and got my bookcase. So now for the look of the cabinet, that's when it got more interesting. So originally, this is an Ikea Billy bookcase that's a black-brown. So at first I was like, black-brown, I have brown tones, I have a lot of black, let's see if it'll just like work in the space. I put a few panels up against the wall to see what that would look like with the daylight, with lights on at night. Quickly realized, oh no, this is just not gonna work. Like, I can't shortcut this. I have to repaint it. I went through many versions. I wanted it a little bit mid-century to match different parts of my place, but this is not a mid-century looking cabinet. Eventually what I did settle on for the look of the cabinet was a nice black for most of it, with a mix of wood and brass knobs. Because of this lack of space in terms of painting and like having pieces elevated while I'm painting and letting it dry, it actually prompted me to think of a different solution of how I could reduce the number of surfaces I had to paint using wood contact paper to wrap the shelves, but also do that with the backboard because that was a huge piece to paint as well. I was like, there's no way I'm gonna fit all this. It also brightens up the interior of the cabinet. It gives it some warmth. It ties it in with the rest of my space with the wood. Now I had to find and source all of those different materials. Most people, when you look at these projects of like IKEA revamps, which is basically painting over laminate and melamine, well, most of them use a product called Zinsner Bullseye, I believe is called. I think it's a Zinsner. It is extremely smelly and toxic. Because I'm working inside and I'm living here, I went with the Zinsner 123, which is water-based. First thing I had to do was sand everything down. I just went with a quick Rotary sander, 220 grit, tried to contain as much of the dust as possible, but dust be dust, and it kind of went all over the place, so that was not fun. After that, I primed 2 coats with the Zinsner 123. I went with the gray color just because I'm going with the darker color, and it came in white and it came with gray. By the way, I'm gonna link all the products that I use down below. You can do this project on your own, or you can just see what products I use in case you wanna tackle this on. And if you do tackle it on, please just do me a favor, like the video and also comment down below. I would love to hear your thoughts. So after the priming was done, I let it sit for a week because you actually wanna let it cure. I went with the Benjamin Moore Ultra Spec 500 no VOC water-based paint, which also makes cleaning your brushes a lot easier and you could reuse it down the line. So it's also less wasteful and probably less bad for the environment than the super toxic stuff. I went through different versions of black. You know, there's so many different kinds of black. Eventually settled on this color, which I will link in the description down below. It was an onyx. I also was looking for a color that would work well with my wall, would work well with the brass color. So the black needed a little bit of warmth in it. I thought black would be easy because like white's difficult, but there's a lot of shades of black too. 2 to 3 coats. It ends up thicker coats were actually better than thin coats. For the streaking, I used a ultra dense foam roller to get it nice and smooth. A satin pearl finish, which one touch glossier than eggshell, which is what is on my wall, what is often used on walls. Glossy paints are just more resistant, and since this is a product that I'm gonna be interacting with a lot and putting things on and off surfaces, so I assembled the whole thing and then I put the wood contact paper as I was going along. It was very easy to apply. The color and the texture is so nice, like the visual texture, but there's also a texture when you touch it. Behind this cabinet, you cannot even tell that it's fake wood. And even when you look close, you can't tell. You can just tell if you touch it. You never know what the color will look like, if it'll match well, but the color that I specifically got worked so well with the black. So if you're planning on recreating this, just like get exactly what I link in the description. It's like your shopping list. Eventually I got the perfect brass knobs that I stumbled upon. I had to drill slightly bigger holes to accommodate the new knobs. One thing you may notice is that my doors aren't perfectly level. I spent like 2 hours trying to level this on a Saturday at like 1 a.m. Technically that would be Sunday. 2 or 3 even of the hinges, the adjustment screws to help level them, they just weren't doing what they were supposed to be doing, so it wasn't for lack of skills, it was the hardware. Organizing my tech cabinet. actually didn't deviate that far from my original sketch. I played around with different options as I was putting it together and then realized really that was the best option. The way that I laid it out is the bottom is stationary. So I used to have this wood crate that had a bunch of things. So I was able to split that one wood crate into two slightly smaller boxes. It is more organized and easier for me to reach into things. I have a box that is just papers and notebooks. Then I have a box that is pens and things like measuring tape. And then the second row, I decided to put books that I access once in a while. Workbooks, personal development books. Then I also decided I would put my board games there. And also board games are light, so having them in the middle of the shelf would prevent it from dipping. This is all within the bottom part where it's like closed panels and you can't see it. The row above that were just all of the empty boxes that are of products that I haven't reviewed yet or am in the process of reviewing. I also decided to put my gimbal there. It's not something I reach for often, but I had the space to put it. And then the pièce de résistance is that tech side of the tech cabinet, if you will. Because I already had the legs created for V1 tech organization, it worked out so well because I literally was able to take this SKADIS pegboard that had leg supports, so it stood on its own, and I was able to just put this in the cabinet. It fit perfectly. And it goes with the look of the cabinet because I already stained the sides of those legs. I debated about putting this SKADIS pegboard on the bottom actually and having it less visible. I don't really want just two stationary boxes, books visible. Like, it didn't look good, it was too colorful, didn't really go with my theme. So I actually just decided to put this pegboard up there. Because it's black on black, it doesn't even show, it's very subtle. And because there's behind the glass and the glass has reflection, and it also makes it more accessible because now when I open the doors to access cameras and stuff, it's right at eye level and I could just reach for it instead of having to bend down to get it. And then at the very top shelf was more of a decorative shelf, if you will. Decorative, but yet still functional. A lot of candles that I have unused, they're beautiful. I figured I might as well display them there. And then I also have a lot of inks for my fountain pen. The ink bottles that I have are beautiful. Like, look at this. They have like nice little brass gold. The end result is I couldn't be happier about this cabinet. I don't think you understand. Like, I've sent my friends like photos and videos of me with my cabinet. And it inspired me also to revamp some other spaces in my home. So like it just looks even nicer. Like everything is just like leveling up. Everything is easily accessible. Everything's consolidated. Everything is organized. Overall, this project took about 4 weeks to complete from beginning to end, letting everything cure, because the paint also took 2 weeks to cure. New skill set acquired. Very happy about that. Very happy with the results. This project cost all in all about like 400 bucks, or just like a little under 400 bucks. Some tools I already had, some tools I borrowed. That's including the bookcase, that's including some new accessories that I bought. It's including the paints that I bought, which the paints, you know, they add up, and the roller, the little tray. I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. If this video helped you, inspired you, entertained you in any way, please like it. Subscribe if you haven't already. I optimize life through product reviews, through mental health, through how-to tutorials, and coffee, because I love coffee. I kind of optimize that too sometimes, but coffee's just like fun for me. And comment down below if this has inspired you in any way to revamp some sort of Ikea or other melamine laminate type of furniture, inspired you for a tech cabinet or for some sort of project revamp or any way, or just inspired you in a very general sense. The difference that the coat of paint can make and some swapping out accessories, it's like incredible. And the satisfaction of having something that just visually is customized and personalized exactly to your needs, what a difference. Share this video with all of your other DIY friends, and I shall see you in the next video. Bye!